intimidating actions directed at officials, student athletes, coaches, or team representatives will not be tolerated and are grounds for removal from the stadium. The possession and consumption of alcohol and the use of tobacco products are strictly prohibited. Artificial noise makers, air horns, and electronic amplifiers are also not permitted. Thank you for your cooperation.
The Centennial Conference Field Hockey Championship is on the line today here at Homewood Field as the top-seeded Hopkins Blue Jays take on the number 2 seed Franklin and Marshall Diplomats right here on Hop TV. I'm Connor Newcomb with you here for this one as we get you set for the Centennial Conference Championship game. Hopkins in the all-blue, Franklin and Marshall in the all-white. Hopkins going right to left on your screen, and the Diplomats control it to start this one. Each of these teams getting a W yesterday in the semifinals here on this same field in Baltimore to get themselves to this championship game, and it'll start with a mini breakaway here for the Diplomats. Ball is kicked along, and it's still in possession of Franklin and Marshall. That's Darby Klopp, the freshman out of Lewis, Delaware, number 17 in white, who makes a run with the ball before she was stopped by the Hopkins defense. Each of these teams with a win yesterday. Franklin and Marshall taking down third-seeded Ursinus 2-0. Meanwhile, Johns Hopkins playing a wild game yesterday as they finally were able to squeak by fifth-seeded Gettysburg by a score of 5-4. Very, very different semifinals yesterday. On the one hand, it was Franklin and Marshall really controlled that game the whole way. Got a goal in the first quarter, goal in the third quarter, and just kind of cruised to a 2-0 win. On the other side, Hopkins was dominant. They led 5-0 after 3 periods against Gettysburg. All of a sudden, the Bullets got 4 goals in the fourth quarter and made it a 1-goal game, scoring that 4th goal with 59 seconds on the clock before Hopkins finally was able to just go at least a minute without giving one up there at the end of the game and held on for that 5-4 semifinal victory. And that's how these two teams get here. Not only is it number 1 versus number 2 in the conference, it's number 6 versus number 7 in the country. In the latest rankings that came out on Tuesday in the coaches poll, Hopkins ranked 6th in the nation, Franklin and Marshall ranked 7th. Two teams that are definitely poised to make the NCAA tournament as Michaela Corvey on the run for Hopkins. Here goes Corvey into the circle. Her shot is good, and Hopkins scores early to take a 1-0 lead. There was no stopping Michaela Corvey on that breakaway as she barreled through the defense and gives the Blue Jays an early lead just over 2 minutes into this one. Corvey, who's been on fire lately, gets her 9th goal of the season and her 6th goal in her last 7 games, as she has come on very strong as of late, has the junior forward out of Newburyport, Massachusetts. So Corvey gets a big goal early, and Hopkins leads it 1-0 quickly against the Diplomats. Remember, these two teams met just 1 week ago on this same field in the Centennial Conference regular season finale. Both teams came in at a perfect 9-0 in conference play, and the winner would get the number 1 seed and host this conference tournament. And the Blue Jays won that game 2-1, giving them a perfect 10-0 conference schedule and allowing them to host here in Baltimore this weekend. In that game, Abby Burke had both Hopkins goals. She scored in the second quarter and then in the third quarter to make it 2-0. The Diplomats got a late goal in the fourth, but it wasn't enough as it was a 2-1 Hopkins win. But here the Diplomats get themselves a corner and will try and answer that early Blue Jays goal. This one slid to the top of the circle. Here comes a shot. It pops up off of Seema Sudgin's stick. Sudgin there again. Tries to deflect it away. And another corner is coming. It was Addie Peters who entered that penalty corner. And we'll see who she tries to pick out here. It's Coverdale. Coverdale makes a move to her right, an open shooting lane, but her shot deflects wide. That was a nice move by the senior, number 2 in white, Erin Coverdale. Really a nifty move to get around her defender. But she couldn't finish. Coverdale, 6 goals, 7 assists on the season. This one driven towards the circle. Maddie Brown-Shear going down hard. And the whistle keeps it with the Diplomats. In towards the circle, and that one is deflected away. We knew this would be a good one. Best 2 teams in the conference. Played a 2-1 matchup just last week. 2 top 10 teams in the country. And it's living up so far, just 4 minutes in. Already a Hopkins goal, as it was scored about 2 minutes into this one by Michaela Corvey to make it a 1-0 game. Franklin and Marshall right back in possession. They do have the loss to Hopkins, but it's one of just 2 losses for them. Each of these teams comes in with 2 losses. Both teams 16-2 overall. For Hopkins, they went 10-0 in the regular season, now 11-0 against Centennial opponents. Franklin and Marshall 9-1 regular season, 10-1 overall against Centennial opponents, with that only loss coming to Hopkins. Their only other loss on the schedule for Franklin and Marshall came on October 2nd. And the loss came to then number 13 Messiah by a 3-2 scoreline. Messiah now the 11th ranked team in the country. Hopkins also played Messiah this year and beat them 4-2 early in the season. The only other Hopkins blemish, a 2-1 loss at then number 16 Christopher Newport, all the way back on September 8th, very early in the season. Christopher Newport now ranked 13th in the nation. Up the sideline, that pass for the Diplomats. They were looking for Lily Minot, who is the leading scorer in the conference this season. Minot's been absolutely on fire. 21 goals for the junior out of Millburn, New Jersey, number 21 in white. Abby Burke, who is right up there with Minot in points on the year, tries to take it away. Burke with 4 assists yesterday, which tied an all-time Hopkins record for single assists in a game. Now has 10 goals and 17 assists on the year. Some of the best players in the country on the field today, as Minot tried to corral that one and get a shot off, but Sophie Kim there to stonewall her. Sophie Kim actually got to get a little bit of a rest yesterday. She started in that game, but once Hopkins had the big lead, she was kind of being subbed in and out late in that game. Then had to come back in for the final few minutes when Gettysburg roared on that comeback. But Kim may be fresher legs than some of the other players on this field today, which could be a difference maker for the senior out of Lansdale, Pennsylvania, who is really the anchor of that Hopkins back line. Up the sideline for Corvey, your goal scorer. Came at just over 2 minutes in. The only shot of the day so far for Hopkins ended in a goal. And here go the Blue Jays again with Sadie Aboud. Aboud weaving through defenders, but couldn't get through the final one, as Addie Peters was there to take it away. But Hopkins regains possession. Abby Burke right there in the area. Just as it was yesterday, a chilly day. We're in the mid-40s in Baltimore, so a lot of the players with the long sleeves on as Burke lifts one into the circle, and the whistle will send it the other way. Of course, a lot of other action in Hopkins sports today. It's a huge day for Johns Hopkins with a lot of postseason play going on. And it's already been a 2-0 day for Hopkins athletics right here in Baltimore. Football team with a 57-26 win on Senior Day. And the women's volleyball team keeps its perfect season alive. They go to 28-0 with a straight sets victory over Swarthmore in the conference semifinal. They will play in the Centennial Championship game tomorrow at 1 o'clock inside Goldfarb Gymnasium. This one squirts on through for Addie Peters, junior midfielder. Lost it for a second. Sudgen picked it up, tried to feed one over towards Bryn Rowland, but the pass was too long for her as Rowland makes her 7th start of the season here in this one after she came off the bench yesterday. Drive into the circle there. Came from Melissa Gula, but a takeaway. And here go the Blue Jays with Maddie Brown-Shear. She's going to slice one up the sideline. It's going to be a race for it. Sadie Aboud, she tracks it down just before it goes out of play. Aboud moving to her right, back to her left. She's into the circle. Aboud, another move towards the goal line. And Sadie Aboud earns the whistle, but it will go the other way. Still a great run of play right there from the Blue Jays. Of course, other Hopkins teams in action. Both soccer teams, both men's and women's, playing today in their Centennial Conference semifinal games. And right now the men's soccer team with a 2-0 lead over Dickinson in the 50th minute. Axel Whammon just got a goal to make it 2-0 after Liam Creedon scored on a penalty kick in the first half to open the scoring. So Craig Appleby's team in good shape right now to get to tomorrow's conference final. As for the men's soccer team, if they can win today and win tomorrow and take home that Centennial Conference crown, there's a pretty good shot that Craig Appleby's squad could host an NCAA regional here next weekend. Them and volleyball have good chances. Field hockey and women's soccer, more of an outside chance. Both really need to take care of business in the Centennial tournaments this weekend. Bryn Rowland makes a nice move. She's tracked down from behind and now drops it back for Brown-Shear. Over to Burke. Fed up for Michaela Corvey. Back to Abby Burke. Burke into the circle and then lost possession. Had it poked away there by number 27 and right, the freshman Katie Roper. Here's Corvey again. And the whistle keeps it with Hop. Back to Sudgen. Sudgen keeps it. Looking for Rowland. Pass taken away by Peters. Peters will send one long. Looking to send Lily Minot on a break. Instead, it goes back to Hop. Comes Burke. She feeds it inside, looking for another assist. Burke still on the ball. Brown-Shear. Brown-Shear with a shot and a save. Still loose in front of the cage. And the whistle sends it the other way. A big-time stick save there by the junior goalkeeper, Christina Siri. As she keeps it in a 1-0 game. In goal for the Diplomats. As you see it here, that one just rolled right on through, and Brown-Shear had a great look and a big-time save from Siri. Burke will get the restart here late in this first quarter. As she drops it back for Kim. Now Sugden back to Katie Mackerleen, who scored 2 of the 5 goals in yesterday's win. This one bounces on through for Brown Shear, and the whistle gives it to Hop. And the referee, I think, is trying to bring the subs in. No, she's going to whistle on play. Burke weaving through defenders and drops it back. Now it's up to Bailey Schwab, who has it run through her stick and out of bounds. First sub of the day for the Diplomats. It's number 11 in white, Katie O'Loughlin, the senior midfielder out of Fairfax Station, Virginia. O'Loughlin, no points for her on the season as this one busts on through. Lily Minot trying to run it down, and there's Caitlin Hall to kick it away. Hopkins, sophomore goalkeeper, tested for the first time today and makes a smooth play with the foot. So O'Loughlin in there as Darby Klopp heads to the bench. Senior in for a freshman for F&M. This pass trying for Emma Durantine. In towards the circle, and it rolls across the front of goal, but out. It'll come outside the circle for an F&M possession. Dangerous moment there for the Blue Jays. And a big takeaway. It's Rowland. Bryn Rowland trying to win it back. She knocks it off of the stick of Colleen Francis, and here goes Bryn Rowland up the sideline. Cuts back to her right. She's got space to pass, but her pass was intercepted. Mackerleen tried to run through that one. This will be sent up for Minot. Sophie Kim with strong defending, and Sugden sweeps it away. Good back and forth from these two teams so far. Into the corner. It bounces up high in the circle, and a corner is coming up for F&M with just about 40 seconds to play in this first period. Hopkins with a 1-0 lead. The early goal from Michaela Corvey is the difference so far. Addie Peters will send this corner in. She's got Minot at the top of the circle along with Coverdale. It's off to Coverdale. She feeds off to her right. Here comes a shot. Hits off a foot. Whistle blows, and another corner coming. Shot came there from number 6 in white, the junior Ellie Page. And another corner coming. Now 33.9 seconds to play in the first quarter. Hopkins just trying to defend out these final 30-plus seconds and get the lead after one period. Peters with 3 assists on the year enters again. Here's Coverdale. She feeds off to her left. Here comes a shot. It rolls on through towards the goal. Hall couldn't get to it before it trickled out of bounds. That was Melissa Gula who got the chance to take the shot there, senior out of Short Hills, New Jersey. A takeaway and a drive up the field with 10 seconds remaining in the quarter. Colleen Francis brings it the other way into the corner, trying to find Roper. Roper feeds for Minot. Minot into the circle, and that's going to do it. No, the clock says triple zeros, but the referee blew the whistle before we hit zeros, which means Franklin and Marshall is going to get one last shot with a penalty corner here at the very end of this first quarter. They'll enter in the corner. Coverdale. Coverdale has a rip, and it goes wide of the goal. And that will take us to the end of the first quarter. An exciting first 15 minutes at Homewood Field. Hopkins gets an early goal from Michaela Corvey and holds on from there. And one quarter down, the Blue Jays have the lead in this Centennial Conference Championship game. second quarter is underway from Homewood Field. Hopkins and Franklin and Marshall. Connor Newcomb with you here on Hop TV. Centennial Conference semifinal, as Hopkins almost with a beautiful chance in the first 30 seconds. Maddie Brown-Shear couldn't flag down that pass, though. And it'll go back over to the Diplomats. The Blue Jays with a 1-0 lead through one period. Michaela Corvey scoring just over 2 minutes into the game. Got her 9th goal of the season to make it a 1-0 Blue Jay lead. F&M outshot Hopkins 6-2 in that first period. But the Blue Jays got the goal, and that's the difference so far in this one. This one hops up high and will stay with the Jays. Abby Burke on the restart, over to Bryn Rowland. Rowland into the circle. Rowland tries to feed into the middle, and her pass was knocked down, but it will stay with Hopkins after Colleen Francis, the senior, tried to clear it away. And it went all the way out of bounds. Coverdale tried to keep that one in, couldn't do so, and it's back over to Hop. Minute and a half into this second quarter. Here's Schwab. She gives it away to Lily Minot, and Sudgen takes it right back. Kim switches it over to Corvey. Corvey with a drive up the field, and Abood able to bring it down nicely. Good job by the junior Sadie Abood. Racing towards the circle before she loses possession. And Corvey had it come up high on her. Hopkins looking for its second consecutive Centennial Conference Tournament title and their 6th all-time. Of course, the tournament itself started in 2000. Before that, the first place team was named the conference champion. Hopkins won twice in the pre-tournament era. In the first year of the Field Hockey Conference in 1993, and then they shared the title with Gettysburg in 1999. That was the final year before the conference tournament. The tournament started in 2000, and it was played right here at Hopkins, and the Blue Jays won that tournament. They won the inaugural Centennial Conference Field Hockey Tournament. Giveaway to Abood, tried to find Thompson, but pass was cut off by Ellie Page. Hopkins again won the tournament in 2003, then went on quite the drought, did not win again until last season when they beat this same Franklin and Marshall team at F&M by a score of 1-0, winning the game in penalty strokes. Took a long time to get a winner in that one up at F&M after Hopkins beat her Sinus 1-0 in the semifinal, and there was no scoring through regulation or overtime, and the Blue Jays took it by a score of 3-1 in the penalty strokes to win the conference championship last season. And then, of course, Hopkins went on to make its first ever appearance in the NCAA Final Four. Blue Jays defeating FDU Florham and Messiah, then undefeated a number 1 Messiah in overtime before falling to Tufts 3-1 in the national semifinal game in Manheim, Pennsylvania. Coverdale inside the circle, tips it along, and Mackerleen there to take it away and smoothly clear it for the Blue Jays. So we'll see if Hopkins can repeat that run they had last year. But obviously they'd love to get themselves as a regional host and play a couple games here at home before hopefully making it back to the Final Four. This one driven ahead for Coverdale. She brings it down towards the circle, tries a shot, and Sudgen was there to stop it. Sudgen gets hit, and it goes the other way. despite the temperature here in Baltimore today, it's a chilly one. Right now, at 4:30 Eastern time, it's 42 degrees. And it'll only be dropping as the sun starts to go down. But a really good crowd out here for this conference final. As everybody bundled up, but enjoying this one, which has been a great matchup so far. Again, the Diplomats out shooting the Blue Jays 7-2, but Hopkins has a 1-0 lead. That one comes in high. And the goalkeeper, Christina Siri, out to deflect it down, and the whistle gives it to the Diplomats. Franklin and Marshall, Lily Minot the other way, and Seema Sudjan has been everywhere so far. Remember, Sudjan did not start the game yesterday. And that was the first time all season that Sudjan had not started a game. She was hit by either a ball or a stick up high in warm-ups and was getting looked at by the athletic trainer. She was initially in the starting lineup, then got scratched because of that injury. However, she ended up being okay and actually came in the fourth quarter. Didn't play the first 3 periods, but then played a few minutes in the fourth just to get back into it. And then back in the starting lineup today. So good for Hopkins to have Seema Sudjan not miss much time at all. Move made there by Addie Peters as she'll get to restart it. Peters into the corner. Slides one towards the circle. It'll stay with F&M outside of the circle. Driven in by Peters. And the whistle sends the ball the other way. Takeaway. And Sudjan there to cut it off. Good energy in the crowd. Great energy from the Hopkins bench so far as Katie Mackerline was tripped up. This one sent high up the field for Izzy Thompson. It's corralled there by Emma Durantine. Here's Schwab. Maddie Brown-Shear into the circle. Brown-Shear clips it along. Some contact in front of the goal, and the shot goes wide as Siri came out there and put a little bit of a hit on Christina Glazer. Of course, Glazer had 2 goals in the 5-4 victory yesterday and doubled her season goal total for the senior. She couldn't get a shot off right there that could have potentially doubled the Hopkins lead today. That drive, it was looking for Darby Klopp, who's back in there. Klopp, the freshman, with 10 goals, 4 assists on the season, but goes wide of her. Whistle blows, keeps it with Peters and F&M. Up to Minot. Minot into the circle. Makes one move, gets by a defender, and has it roll out of bounds on her. Here come the Diplomats. Minot into the circle again. Sudjan pokes it away for now. That one's sent in from outside the circle, and the whistle sends it the other way. Hopkins still being outshot 7-3, but they've got the 1-0 lead on the early Michaela Corvey goal. Up the sideline goes Schwab. She's double teamed. Bailey Schwab loses the possession. Peters. Schwab trying to win it right back. Here comes Ellie Page. She has it knocked away. Page, the junior out of Pennington, New Jersey. She'll lose the possession. Pass up for Rowland. She couldn't quite handle it. Tessa Erickson into the game, and Erickson takes it away. Nice defending there. Maddie Brown-Shear gets it back. She'll drop it off for Abby Burke. Burke lifting one towards the circle. One hop inside the circle. And it's cleared away. Katie Roper was there. Erickson with another steal. Back and forth action here. Abby Straub, number 7 in white, trying to run that one down. Straub scored the only goal for the Diplomats here last Saturday, and she just got her ankles broken by Katie Mackerline. The Hopkins bench loving that one. And here go the Blue Jays the other way. Pass up for Erickson. It'll stay with Hop off the stick of Brown-Shear. Just over 3 minutes to play here in this first half. Straub gives it right to Schwab. Bryn Rowland. Rowland tries to make a move to her right. And that had taken off her stick. Two teams both fired up trying to get this conference championship. Again, Hopkins looking for their 6th all-time. Franklin and Marshall looking for their 3rd. This is the 3rd consecutive year that the Blue Jays and the Diplomats have met in the Centennial Conference Championship game. Hopkins winning it 1-0 in strokes last year. Franklin and Marshall winning it on this field 2-1 over Hopkins back in 2017. 2017, the Diplomats won it all in the conference. They also did so back in 2012 when they hosted the tournament and defeated Haverford 4-1 in the final. Up the sideline now, looking for Minot. Kim is going to run it down and let it roll out as the possession goes back to Hop. Franklin and Marshall, they've actually hosted 5 out of the last 8 years. They've won the regular season title 5 out of the last 8 seasons, but they've only won the tournament 2 out of those past 8 years, not counting this year. So it's been a little bit of a disappointment come postseason play for this Diplomats team lately. But the last time they were in this exact situation, Centennial Championship here on this field, they beat the Blue Jays to secure the trophy. This one swept into the circle. Comes out top. A shot is almost swung and missed on by Caitlin Morrissey, number 9 in white, the senior back out of Essex Falls, New Jersey. And now a giveaway as Gula has it taken off her stick. We've got under a minute to play in the first half. No scoring in this second quarter so far after the early Hopkins goal from Michaela Corvey. Back to Mackerline. See if Hop can whittle off these last 25 seconds. Sudgeon deflects it away, and the whistle gives it back to the team in blue. Looks like we're going to hit the half with Franklin and Marshall out shooting Hopkins 7-3. But the number that matters is the 1 in the goal category for the Blue Jays. And as we head to halftime, in this Centennial Conference championship game at Homewood Field. It's Hopkins 1 and the Diplomats nothing on an early first quarter goal from Michaela Corvey. Her 9th goal of the season is the difference so far. 30 minutes down, 30 minutes to go before we crown a conference champion. Make sure to join us back here shortly for the conclusion of this one here on Hop TV. back at Homewood Field for the second half between Hopkins and F&M. 30 minutes, maybe more. If this game gets tied up to decide a Centennial Conference field hockey champion. Connor Newcomb with you here for this championship game on Hop TV live from Baltimore, Maryland. As Hopkins in the all-blue leads Franklin and Marshall in the white by a score of 1-0 after one half of play. The goal in the first half came from Michaela Corvey. Came way back at the beginning of the first quarter, just over 2 minutes into this game. Corvey got her 9th goal of the season and her 6th goal in her last 7 games to give Hopkins the lead, and that's where we stand. Within that first half, the Diplomats, they controlled a lot of the possession. They outshot the Blue Jays 7-3. Outshot them 6-2 in the first quarter, then kind of a slow second period. Each team only had one shot in that second quarter. Franklin and Marshall had 5 penalty corners. Hopkins did not have one at all. But the difference is the goal. Caitlin Hall, despite the 7 shots, has not had to make a save yet. All those shots have been wide of the cage. Meanwhile, Hopkins has gotten 2 shots on goal. One has gone in from Corvey, and Christina Siri also has had to make 1 save for the Diplomats. So that's where we stand through a half of play. It's 1-0 Hop, looking for their 6th Centennial Championship. Franklin and Marshall looking for their 3rd. Each team also trying to make a bid to host an NCAA regional, and the winner of this game does have a shot to host regional play next weekend. Hopkins trying to maintain possession here, but a lot of pressure coming from the Diplomats. And a trip over there as Bryn Rowland hits the turf, and a card is coming out from the referee, and the Blue Jays are going to go a player up for 2 minutes here. A big chance with a player advantage early in the third quarter, as the freshman Darby Klopp is going to have to head to the bench. So a big opportunity for Hopkins with a 2-minute penalty after she completely tripped up Bryn Rowland down in the opposite corner, and now Hopkins will try and run. Izzy Thompson tried to find Corvey, but the pass intercepted as Melissa Gula took it away. Seema Sudgeon able to bring it down. Sophie Kim trying to lead Burke to the sideline, and Abby Burke tiptoeing that sideline, keeps it in bounds and keeps the possession. That squirts through Corvey. Gula drives it up the field, and she let that one bounce way too high off the turf, and it's back to Hop. Less than a minute left on the penalty to Darby Klopp, who waits on the sideline looking to come back in. Hopkins still a player up for another 45 seconds. Diplomats just trying to clear it away while they're at the disadvantage. The Diplomats maybe trying to strike a player down, as Lily Minot brings it up the field. And she is stopped. Here's Katie Roper. 5 seconds, and then Klopp will be back on the field. And that'll do it for penalty time as the Diplomats get in there with Minot. There's a deflection. It goes back to Hopkins as Klopp jogs back onto the field. So her 2-minute penalty doesn't hurt her team. Hopkins not able to take advantage. Didn't even get a shot in those 2 minutes. And it stays 1-0 Blue Jays. Corvey tried to send Brown Shearer. So it'll go back over to F&M. That was a drive from Burke that caught a big chunk there of Caitlin Morrissey, the senior number 9 in white. She's limping around a little bit. That one could not have felt good, especially in the cold. We're at about 40 degrees right now in Baltimore. As this will stay with Hopkins, it'll come outside the circle. As I mentioned, these two teams no stranger to the Centennial Conference Championship game, but especially not Franklin and Marshall. They have appeared in the last 9 Centennial Conference Championship games. Now, they've only won 2 of the previous 8, but they've been here every year since the streak started in 2011 with a 2-1 loss to Ursinus. Of course, Ursinus basically dominated this conference from the mid-2000s up through 2016. From 2004 to 2016, there was only 1 year in which Ursinus didn't win at all. Here's Brown Shear. She tries a shot, and a save made by the goalkeeper, Christina Siri. Just got her pad to it and comes up with her second save of the day. 2012, Franklin and Marshall defeated Haverford in the final. That was the only year in that stretch from 04 to 2016 that Ursinus was not the champion. Another shot inside. Siri makes a save. Rebound shot, and Siri again kicks it away. Back-to-back saves for Siri, but we get a whistle, and Hopkins finally, midway through the third quarter, will get its first penalty corner, looking to extend the 1-0 lead. Siri making back-to-back saves. The junior goalkeeper out of Westfield, New Jersey, now has 4 on the day to keep this at a 1-0 game. But the first corner coming for the Blue Jays. Abby Burke will enter with her 17 assists on the season. It's Mackerleen. Off to Brown Shear. Rolled back in front for Mackerleen, and it hit off her foot. And we'll go back to the Diplomats with under 8 minutes remaining in this third quarter. But a takeaway by Burke. Burke into the circle, and the whistle gives it the opposite way. Runs through Kim. And as I mentioned, Ursinus, it's not like they've had bad seasons the last couple years. Of course, they were ranked in the top 25. They were the number 3 seed in this year's tournament before Franklin and Marshall beat them yesterday 2-0 in our second semifinal. But just haven't had the same level of complete dominance, and something to do with that is Hopkins has gotten a lot better over the last few seasons, as has Franklin and Marshall. So it's really been 3 good teams, 3 really good teams for the last couple of years now in the Centennial Conference in field hockey. Here's Maddie Brown Shear. She gets hit, goes down, whistle blows, and could we see another card coming out here? And we will see a card from the referee. Looks like it's against Franklin and Marshall, and it is. The senior Melissa Gula will have to go off for 2 minutes. So for the second time in this third quarter, Hopkins has a 2-minute player advantage. See if Franklin and Marshall can stave off this one. Hopkins did not get a shot in the previous one. This ahead for Lily Minot. Minot trying to run it down, leading scorer in the conference. Minot works back to her right, trying to get a shot off. Sudgen in there to break it up, but Minot earns a corner for the Diplomats. 6th corner of the day for Franklin and Marshall. Their first, though, since the first quarter, when they had seemingly almost 5 in a row in a pretty short stretch, but Hopkins was up to the task every time. 1:40 left on their penalty. They're a player down, and a chance for a shorthanded goal here as Addie Peters will enter. Coverdale has it. Coverdale with a shot, and Hall with a kick save. Caitlin Hall, the sophomore, with her first save of the day, comes at a big time to keep Hopkins in the lead here in the third quarter. So a big play there from Caitlin Hall. They stave off another corner. Here comes Burke the other way. And the whistle blows to keep it with Hopkins. Not sure that Roper heard the whistle. But we do have a final from up at Franklin and Marshall in men's soccer. The Hopkins men's soccer team gets a semifinal victory. On goals from Liam Creedon and Axel Whamman, the Blue Jays take out Dickinson by a score of 2-0. And Hopkins will now take on the number 1 seed and the host Franklin and Marshall tomorrow, playing for the Centennial Conference Championship. So another victory. Blue Jays now 3-0 across all sports on the day, after a football and a volleyball win earlier. Of course, football on senior day winning at 57-26, and volleyball in the Centennial semifinal, a straight set victory over Swarthmore. They will play in the conference final tomorrow at 1 here on campus inside Goldfarb Gymnasium. Burke up the field to Sadie Abood. She makes a move, gets herself around Durantine, but the whistle sends it the other way. Burke brings that one down, and it'll stay with Hop. This one sent ahead, Corvey fighting for it. But Gula comes away with it as the penalty has been over for Franklin and Marshall. Again, Hopkins not able to score on the power play. Up towards Sudgeon. Evades 3 defenders and will kick it back over to Kim. Kim had to lay out for that one to keep the possession, but she got it up to Abby Burke. Burke all the way up the field. She was looking for Maddie Brown Shear, but too far for her. Corvey now. Gula has it. And Schwab brings it in. Bailey Schwab up to Izzy Thompson. Just rolled over the sideline and out. Back to the Diplomats. A good battle here in this Centennial Championship game. 1-0 Hop. Michaela Corvey. First quarter goal is the difference so far. Couple of third-year head coaches. Jane Wells for Hopkins. Caitlin Egger for Franklin and Marshall. Egger with 51 career wins. Wells with 49 career wins. Number 50 would be pretty special today to get herself another conference championship. Would make it back-to-back championships for Hopkins, after they took out this same Franklin and Marshall team in penalty strokes in the Centennial final last season. Of course, this Diplomats team under Caitlin Egger, they went to the Sweet 16 last year, and they made it into the NCAA tournament. And they had themselves a Final Four run back in 2017 in her first season, when they also won the conference tournament, beating Hopkins on this field 2-1 in the conference final. Somehow Abby Burke keeps that one in play, and now wins it back for her team. Nice play by Burke. Abood feeds inside for Burke. Skips just over her stick, and back for Seema Sudgeon. Sudgeon spins around one defender, back to Schwab. Now to the other side of the field. In towards the circle, Maddie Brown Shearer, and the whistle sends it the other way. We're getting late in this third quarter. Hopkins still on top by 1. As Myra Granado into the game on the far side for Hopkins. This one comes over to Burke. Pops up high. And it will go back to Morrissey. Diplomats out shooting the Blue Jays 8-6 in this one so far. It was kind of an odd first quarter. Franklin and Marshall had 5 corners. They outshot the Blue Jays 6-2, but that's when Hopkins got the goal. Since then, it's been pretty evenly matched over the last 2 quarters, but the one that the Diplomats dominated was the one where Hopkins got the only goal of the game. Brown Shear makes a move to her right. Brown Shear, the whistle blows. And a card coming out here. And we could be seeing a penalty stroke here for the Blue Jays. A huge opportunity with less than 40 seconds to play in the third quarter. It will be a penalty stroke for Hopkins. And Katie Mackerline, the senior, steps up to take it. And it would be a huge goal to double the Hopkins lead. Mackerline had 2 goals yesterday. She has 11 here in her senior season and 28 in her 4-year Hopkins career. Mackerline versus Siri. Mackerline scores! Hopkins has a 2-0 lead. Penalty stroke goal for Katie Mackerline. And Hopkins inches that much closer to a conference championship. Mackerline with her 3rd goal of the conference tournament, her 12th of the season, and her 29th of her Hopkins career for the senior out of Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. So with less than a minute to play in the third period, Hopkins adds a pivotal second goal. Izzy Thompson up the field now. Hopkins thinks they can run, but the whistle is against the Blue Jays. But Franklin and Marshall, they're not able to get it together here. As the referee stops the clock because it took so long to get the ball in the field. 5 seconds. We're back in play inside the circle. Whistle sends it the other way. And that'll do it for the third period. Hopkins adds a goal here in this third quarter. Katie Mackerline converts on a penalty stroke. And Hopkins, with a 2-0 lead, is just 15 minutes away from a Centennial Conference championship. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Hop TV.
In women's soccer, Johns Hopkins 1, Haverford 0. The Blue Jay women will face Dickinson in the women's soccer final tomorrow. In volleyball, Johns Hopkins 3, Swarthmore 0. Blue Jays will play for the Centennial Conference Championship tomorrow.
Just 15 minutes separate the Blue Jays from a Centennial Conference crown. Hopkins leading it 2-0 as we enter the fourth quarter. Connor Newcomb with you here on Hop TV in this Centennial Conference final. Blue Jays with an early first quarter goal from Michaela Corvey. And then in the final minute of that third quarter, Katie Mackerline converts on a penalty stroke to make it 2-0 Jays. And they're that close to back-to-back conference championships. Hopkins on the season 16-2 overall, ranked 6th in the country. Franklin and Marshall, that same record as that shot deflects high and over top the cage. The Diplomats, the 7th ranked team in the nation as of Tuesday's rankings update. And a takeaway here as Hopkins will look to put it away with a third goal. Here's Michaela Corvey. She's got Erickson running to her left and is able to find the freshman Tessa Erickson. Erickson up the sideline, tries to sweep one in towards the circle and gets the whistle. This one's sent ahead for Coverdale, but only as far as Katie Mackerline, who runs it down. Out to Schwab now. Myra Granado inside for Corvey. Corvey was looking to make one more pass. Now we've got a fight for the ball, won by Hopkins. This will be swung over towards Burke. She's got a long run. It's kept in play, and now Brown-Shear. Maddie Brown-Shear scoots one ahead. Brown-Shear in on goal, feeds the front. And Izzy Thompson couldn't get her stick on it. Would have had a point-blank shot, but it just hopped over the stick of the sophomore Thompson. That would have put this game away. Instead, it stays at just 2-0. Down towards goal line extended. Cleared up the sideline. Lily Minot, conference goal scoring leader with 20 goals on the year for the junior forward. But she's been held down today as the whistle gives it back to Hop. Blue Jays in the lead, 2-0. As the Diplomats will take the possession back over. A very similar scenario as how the game went last Saturday when these two teams met with the conference regular season title on the line. Hopkins got 2 goals. They led it 2-0 going into the fourth quarter. Abby Straub got a goal in the fourth to make it 2-1, but the Diplomats couldn't bring it all the way back in that one. And Hopkins clinched the home field advantage in the conference tournament. Erickson loses possession on the far sideline. A lot of contact over there as the referee's going to blow the whistle. Tessa Erickson and Darby Klopp, the two freshmen, collided. And a card comes out, and Klopp is going to go off again. For the second time today, Darby Klopp has been sent off and shown a card. This comes with 11 minutes to play in this championship game, and not what head coach Caitlin Egger wanted to see there. Here's Abby Burke. Burke trying to make the pass that might put this one away. Inside for Thompson. And the whistle blows, but it'll stay with the Blue Jays. That penalty now 5 minutes that that Darby Klopp will be on the sideline. 5 minutes, Hopkins will be a player up with just 11 minutes to go and a 2-0 lead. It's going to be difficult for the Diplomats. See if they, at any point here down the stretch, decide to pull the goalkeeper out and get another field player out there. Sudgen feeds it along to the left side. Pass looking for Corvy's intercepted. Fight for the ball and stays with Hop. Corvy for Burke. Tipped up in the air. And it's up for Minot. Willie Minot up the sideline, being chased by 3 Hopkins defenders, and Matty Brown-Shear made a good play to deflect it towards Mackerleen. Under 10 minutes to go in this conference final. As the referee is going to stop play. It'll go back to Caitlin Morrissey, the senior who has 1 goal on the season. Burke defending. Melissa Gula down towards the corner. Gula into the circle, and Sudgen right there to take it away. Now Sudgen on the break. Couldn't make the one final move to try and get away from Emma Durantine. This one hops up out of the circle, but the whistle will give it to the Diplomats. Coverdale now. Feeds it in front, and Sudgen right there to sweep it away. And now it deflects, and Franklin and Marshall is going to get a corner. 8:47 to play, and the Diplomats get their 7th corner of the day. Really feel like they're going to need a goal here, trailing 2-0. The junior Addie Peters, who has 3 assists this year, will enter this one in. Comes to the top of the circle for Coverdale. She tries a shot, and the Diplomats get one back. With 8:40 to play in this one, the goal comes from Erin Coverdale, the senior, and it's now 2-1. A shorthanded goal on the penalty corner, as Franklin and Marshall still a player down for another 2.5 minutes, but they get the goal. Erin Coverdale, the senior, gets her 7th goal of the season, and it's 2-1 with 8:40 to play. So 2-1, the same scoreline. Hopkins beat the Diplomats here last Saturday. Hoping to do the same again. Diplomats got a 4th quarter goal in that one to make it 2-1, but couldn't equalize. Now F&M just hoping they can get Darby Klopp back out there, get back to full strength, and then really put that final push on to get the tying goal. And how big now is that penalty stroke awarded to Hopkins with about 30 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter, where Katie Mackerleen came through with the goal to make it 2-0. Sadie Abu just rolling through defenders here. She drops it back for Myra Granado, and the whistle keeps it with Hop with under 8 to play. Swept along towards Granado. She didn't start this game, but she's out there now. Erickson up the goal line extended. Erickson hits the deck, and the whistle gives it back to F&M. Halfway through now this 4th quarter, 2-1 Blue Jays. After a goal just a minute ago from Erin Coverdale, made it this 2-1 scoreline. Now a giveaway. Diplomats looking to equalize. Coverdale sends it long, looking for Morrissey. Hall is out there and kicks it away out of the circle. Smart and aggressive goalkeeping from the sophomore Caitlin Hall. Now under 7 to play in this one. Hopkins trying to hold on for the championship. That'll go off Erickson, who comes away limping a bit. Izzy Thompson set to check back in for the Blue Jays the next stoppage. Meanwhile, Klopp has 30 seconds left on her penalty. Mackerleen. There's a dangerous play there. Back to Kim. There was a second ball in the field. It's still out there. And now the whistle blows against Hopkins. And finally one of the ball boys will come out and pick it up. As the clock continues to run. Izzy Thompson on. Tessa Erickson off for the Blue Jays. Penalty time is over for Klopp. Diplomats back at full strength as Hall comes out to kick that one away. And a lot of contact there as Michaela Corvey was just bowled over by the senior Colleen Francis. And the whistle goes against Francis, but Hopkins gives it right back away. Here's Gula. Towards the top of the circle. Fed over towards Morrissey. Morrissey has it run over top of her stick, but runs it down behind her. Caitlin Morrissey double teamed. Kim takes it away, but a whistle blows. Morrissey back on the ball towards the goal. That one was knocked down. Gula has it back, and it's swept away. Hopkins can run with Thompson. Izzy Thompson turning across midfield. Thompson still going, and it goes out of play. It'll stay with Hop. F&M out shooting the Blue Jays 10-7, but Hopkins outscoring them 2-1. Late whistle there, but it keeps it with Hopkins. And Myra Granado on the far side. Granado loses it, back over to the Diplomats. Up the sideline goes Lily Minot, but she has it taken away. Mackerleen was right there. As Bryn Rowland will check back in, Sadie Aboud comes off with under 4 minutes to play. This one rolls in towards the circle, and F&M will let it go out and take the possession back. Hopkins intercepts that pass. Abby Burke trying to run it down. It'll stay with her squad. All the way back for Bailey Schwab. Schwab makes a nice move, gets around Abby Straub. Sudgeon onto the ball. Now 3 minutes to play as Mackerleen gives over to Sophie Kim. Corvey. Hopkins looking to put this one away, but good defending there as Francis made a big play. She scoops it ahead. It's still loose. Straub comes away with it. Fight for possession ends up at the stick of Addie Peters for F&M. Up to Abby Straub. She's got one goal this year. It came last week against Hopkins on this same field. But it'll deflect out. It'll come out of the circle for the Diplomats. Coming down to the wire here in this Centennial Conference Championship game. And it's off the foot of a Hopkins player. And with 2 minutes remaining, it'll stay with the Diplomats as the referee stops the clock at 2:01. And a card is going to be shown. Maddie Brown-Shearer has to come off for Hopkins with 2:01 on the clock. And the Diplomats will be up a player here at the end of this one. What a call that is. A 2-minute penalty with 2 minutes on the clock. So for the rest of the game, the Diplomats are a player up, and now F&M will get a penalty corner with 1:54 on the clock. They scored on their last corner earlier in this fourth quarter to cut it to a 2-1 game. And now they look to tie things up. It was Erin Coverdale who got the last one on a shot from just inside the top of the circle. See if they go back to her. Addie Peters, the junior, will enter this one. Referee blows the whistle. She's going to come talk to the 4 Hopkins players on the goal line. Maybe trying to leave a little bit early. Here it comes from Peters. Gula has it. She slides it across to Coverdale, tries a shot. Abby Burke knocked it down. It bounces up towards the goal line, and Burke comes away with it towards the corner. And it'll stay with Hopkins. Great defending from the Blue Jays. And Abby Burke, who's been such an offensive weapon, she had 4 assists in the game yesterday, 10 goals and 17 assists on the year. Makes a huge defensive play right there. Coverdale trying to get through 4 Hopkins defenders and gets the whistle. Coverdale continuing on. Stick goes down and the whistle gives it the other way. Nice defending. Myra Granado got her stick in there. This one comes up the sideline. Less than a minute to play. Hopkins trying to hold on to this 2-1 lead and take a conference title in back-to-back years. Seema Sudjan gets it away. Granado will dribble towards the corner. And a whistle will give it back to the Diplomats. In towards the circle, and Caitlin Hall watches it sail wide. It'll come outside for F&M. 30 seconds to play. The Diplomats need a goal. Top of the circle here, Michaela Corvey trying to dribble it out. And the whistle keeps it on this end. Now 20 seconds. Time ticking away for F&M. Here's Gula. Gula tries a shot. Corvey goes down, deflects it away. Hopkins trying to take it out of their own end. Now 10 seconds remaining. The referee looking up at the clock. It's still rolling. The clock's still rolling. And that's it from Homewood Field. Johns Hopkins, back-to-back Centennial Conference champions. A 2-1 victory over Franklin and Marshall, and the Blue Jays run the table in the Centennial this season. 12 conference games, 12 conference wins for Jane Wells' team, and her and the Blue Jays win back-to-back conference titles. Hopkins mobs their goalkeeper, Caitlin Hall, and that entire defensive line, who stood up and made some great plays in those final few minutes after the Diplomats had cut the lead to 1. Hopkins was a player down after Maddie Brown-Shearer was shown the green card. They were a player down for the final 2 minutes of the game, and they held on for the 2-1 victory, and they win their 6th ever Centennial Conference Field Hockey Championship. So the goals in this one, it was Michaela Corvey, 2 minutes in, got the scoring going to make it 1-0. Then with 30 seconds left in the third quarter, Hopkins awarded a penalty stroke, and Mackerline scored to make it 2-0. Then halfway through the fourth quarter, it was Erin Coverdale for Franklin and Marshall, made it 2-1, but Hopkins holds on for a 2-1 victory. So for our entire Hop TV crew, I'm Connor Newcomb, signing off from Homewood Field. We'll stay with you for the trophy presentation. But one more time, Hopkins wins the Centennial Conference Tournament, and they win the conference title in back-to-back years with a 2-1 victory over Franklin and Marshall. We hope you enjoyed this one here on Hop TV, and join us at 7 o'clock back here on Hop TV as the men's basketball team opens its season against number 9 Christopher Newport inside Gold Farm Gymnasium. Hopkins, your 2019 Centennial Conference Field Hockey champions. You saw it all on Hop TV.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the trophy presentation. Here to present the Centennial Conference Championship Trophy is Portia Hoye, Executive Director of the Centennial Conference. First, let's have a round of applause for both teams that provided us with a tremendous championship match. At this time, we recognize the Centennial Conference runners-up from Franklin and Marshall College. Congratulations to Captains Melissa Gula, Caitlin Morrissey, and Michaela Nicholas, Head Coach Caitlin Eager, and the rest of the diplomats on a fine 16-3 record. Let's have a round of applause for the diplomats. And now, the Centennial Conference Championship Most Valuable Player. From Johns Hopkins, Senior, Katie Mackerly. And now we introduce to you the Centennial Conference champions from Johns Hopkins. Congratulations to Captains Seema Sargent, Danica Berman, and Katie Mackerly, Head Coach Jane Wells, and the rest of the Blue Jays on an outstanding record that will continue. They will continue as NCAA tournament representatives from the Centennial Conference. And now will the rest of the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays come forward to accept the trophy. Johns Hopkins regular season record 17-2, a perfect 10-0 in the Centennial Conference.
Woo!
Thank you for attending tonight's championship match and for your support of the Centennial Conference and its student athletes. Please use caution in departing the Johns Hopkins campus this evening. And everyone, please drive home safely. Will the last person to leave please turn out the lights?
That's too big for you, Sadie. That's mine. I'm missing it.